So thanks for coming back. I hope you had a great lunch and you feel now refreshed, and we can start our second part of the day. For this particular one, we have Martin Ferguson, that you have met before, as our session leader. And I hope you will now have some time also for questions. So I have the iPad now. Please feel free to use the landing page to ask questions to our speakers, and we will try to weave them into the conversation as we go along. Now because you know already Martin Ferguson, we skipped the introductory paragraph, and Martin will give you an introduction to actually our session that is saying Becoming Digital by Design. So please, Martin, come up for your opening remarks.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Now, if I was a citizen, digital by design, what are you talking about? Am I talking? I'm talking. If I was a citizen, what would I understand by digital by design? For goodness sake. But there is something exciting about it, something about embedding new ways of working, doing things with purpose, using transparent and inclusive methods that actually involve everybody. Everybody has a stake in the outcome. There's something about designing, isn't there, better public services, about achieving better outcomes with and for people and communities and businesses, and really working across our places. And I have to challenge some of the sessions this morning. Keep using this term smart cities. You know, there's something more. You know, an ecosystem doesn't extend to the boundaries of a city. Ecosystems extend wherever they need to go. Our rural communities, our farms, our wilderness, we're all connected. And we need to think about connected places. You know, if we're in the north of Scotland, we've got people there working in digital jobs in remote communities, but they need services just as much as anybody in cities. So how do we get the best out of our places and the technology that we can use to support people in their lives in those places? We need to involve, don't we, the leaders, the enablers, the decision makers and budget holders, the project teams, the deliverers, the users as adopters and co-creators, and all in that context of place and understanding of the diversity of places in which we operate. They're not all the same. So this session we're going to be hearing about the changes that are happening in the workplace. We're going to be talking about innovation. What do we really mean by innovation? You know, many people use that innovation word, don't they, almost dismissively. We employ innovation managers, innovation teams, we create innovation hubs. But what are innovative projects and outcomes? And how do we communicate with our citizens? Not just to our citizens, but engaging in dialogue and deliberation, not just paying lip service through monologue and dictation. And then we move on finally to digital twins. So how do we avoid the technocratic utopianism of the 1970s that I remember when I was in town planning school? Urban simulations on mainframe computers that completely left out the social dimension. How do we embrace ethical and moral considerations to achieve new purposes and better outcomes for people, communities, and, as I say, our diverse places? So hopefully that's posed a few questions in your minds, and now move on to our speakers.
Yes. Thank you, Martin. You can already take a seat in the panel. And I would also like all of the people in the session 3 to already come up. So please, Dominic Byrne, Grazia Concilio, Daniele Biagioni, and Lieben Reyes to take a seat already on the panel. And we will start. Of course, Dominic can basically stay with me almost because you're the first one up. I also would like to just say, if you have any, I mean, I love the networking part, but if you have, let's say, a call or whatever, if you can just step outside, or if there's a really, interesting conversation going on somewhere in the back, it's really, sort of taking away the attention from the stage. So I just want to mention this. So, of course, the networking part is important, but also the content that is happening on stage is really, really great. So please also pay attention to this. But let's move on to our first speaker. He joins us from Ireland. Dominic Byrne is the project manager for local government digital and ICT strategy at the Local Government Management Agency in Ireland. And he has 30 years of experience working in IT and is currently on secondment from Fingal County Council. He is a member of the All Ireland Smart City Forum and the National Open Data Advisory Group. In his presentation, Dominic will tell you more about the Digital Workplace Transformation Program from Fingal County that started in 2018. Let's hear from him how this program changed the way council employees work through the rollout of digital technologies and corresponding process improvements. So, Dominic, you're up.
Great. Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. Okay, I'll get straight into it.
The time? Sorry, the time.
So, Fingal is a municipality in Dublin, Ireland. This is it in red here. Where's my little? I don't know if that works, doesn't matter. Just north of Dublin City, and for those of you who have been to Ireland, Dublin Airport is in Fingal. So it was established in 1994, third largest local authority in Ireland, youngest, fastest growing. Those black areas are where the population is centred. And this is our population growth over the last 30 years, more than a doubling of population in that time. One of the things that has led to that amount of rapid change is that a need for us to be very dynamic in our response to an increased population in the way that we provide services. And we're quite proud of the innovation that we would have undertaken in Fingal. And the latest in that journey would be our digital transformation program. So for us, digital transformation encompasses 4 different aspects, and I think Martin must have read my slides earlier on. So we don't talk about smart cities, we talk about smart places or smart community or digital places. Because in Fingal, we have a large urban and peri-urban area, but we also have large rural areas, and it's very important for us that those people aren't left out, and that community as the basis for this. So in terms of digital places, it's about improving the lives of citizens through the use of technology. Digital services are about improving public service delivery through the use of technology. Digital systems is improving the back office process. And digital workplace, which is what I'll talk about now, is how to enable staff to improve the way that they work through the use of technology. So as was mentioned already, the program started in 1998. There were 4 main aspects to it, and these were things that we had identified that we needed to address. So looking at office tools, records and document management, citizen relationship management, and fieldwork and asset management. These were areas we felt we needed to improve. And we selected technologies, so Office 365, cloud-based for our office tools, SharePoint Online for our records and document management, cloud-based, Dynamic 365 for our citizen relationship management, and Dynamics 365 for field service for our field workers and asset management system. And how did we go about this? It was important for us that it not just be a technology program, that it be that triumvirate of people, process, and technology. And that we look at putting people first, so that would be the starting point. We look at the processes and the way that we work, and only then do we implement the technology. And that this whole approach, this program, would be a holistic approach, taking into account all of these factors. And we started out with that basis. Who were we looking at? Well, we were looking at everybody in the organisation. The labourers who are fixing the potholes in the streets, the administrators creating reports, the engineers on site designing, and the management team. So all of these people we wanted to change and improve the way that they could do their work. When we started off with a program, hopefully you can see it there, doing all our preparation from 2018, but starting the rollout from 2019 in these 4 areas, and supported by change management in terms of the people side and business process improvement in terms of the process side. So our journey to date, and I'm not in Fingal anymore, my colleague Fergus is here who's taken over from me, but the journey to date in Fingal, we started off by introducing the management team and bringing them to Microsoft's headquarters in Ireland. We're very lucky that Microsoft's European headquarters is in Dublin, so we brought our management team there. And when they were there, they saw Teams telephony and said, we'd like to have that in the program as well. So that was the first thing. Here was a new addition to the program, Teams telephony. We had considered it, but we didn't think that management would be prepared to take on the risk of going to a fully cloud-based telephony system. But when they saw what the potential benefits were, they said, yes, we'll take this. So it was added to the program. And then this happened. And it happened to everybody. COVID came along. And a decision was made then and there, this wasn't part of the original program, that we would give laptops and smartphones to every member of staff who previously had a PC. So we would have about 900 staff. We probably had 150 laptops before this. So now we said we will roll out 750 laptops and replace all PCs. And our IT department became like a warehouse. So there was all these boxes and pallets of laptops came in, and we had loads of them all been set up. So that was added to the program. So a revised timeline, a few changes, a few additions, all the things in black are the things that changed. One of the big problems, and this is COVID getting an award for digital transformation leader of, of the year, that the fact that we had to accelerate the rollout of the program for COVID, and effectively the first part of the program, getting Office 365 rolled out, getting laptops to everybody, we said we need to get this done now because of COVID to enable our staff to work from home. But that created a problem because we weren't ready for the change management side yet and the business process improvement, but we had to go ahead. And that change management suffered at the start. And while we got the technologies out to everybody, we believe that in a lot of cases, all that we have done is we have moved bad processes to a remote or an online environment. And that's something we need to revisit. Now we've got back on track in terms of the program and the subsequent streams of the program. There is a change manager who is looking at the change management in terms of document and records management, the citizen relationship management, and so on. But we do think we need to revisit the whole piece about how Office 365, how Teams, how that could benefit. So here's the current status. The Office 365 tools, that rollout is complete. The laptop rollout, complete. That was complete, so we started that in March. We had the laptops and Office 365 rolled out to everybody, the 900 staff, by July of that year. The Microsoft Teams telephony and a new customer contact center, cloud-based, we started that in July. We had that done by December of 2020. So very compacted and timelines, and very aggressive timelines, but we did achieve them, but not without problems. The records and document management will be finished by December of this year. It's on schedule. Dynamics 365 implementation has just started. And probably the most exciting one for me is the fieldwork and asset management, because we want to actually digitally enable all of those staff who are the frontline staff, who are cutting the grass, who are repairing the potholes, who are doing those things that the public see every day. Because at the moment, something comes in and the CRM system, it goes out to the depot electronically, and then it gets turned into paper. and the work packages go in paper to the workforce, and they come back, say they've done it, they come back to the depot, they hand in the paper, and then it gets fed back in. If we can digitally enable them so that they get their work orders and their work schedules digitally in the morning and can update when they've got it done, we think there's a huge potential for improved efficiencies there. And we've, as I mentioned earlier on, the change management and the business process improvement, we've got that back on track. We have our change manager in place. So recently with the Maynooth University, a university close to us, we carried out a review with our staff, going back to the piece about people and ensuring that we are engaging with our staff throughout this whole process. We did a review, see how is this going. Now it was pretty okay, but there is room for improvement. So you can see there, do you have a good understanding of digital workplace? So just under 3/4, but that means that over a quarter don't have a good understanding of what we were trying to achieve. Again, on the second one, how confident are you using digital apps for personal use? You can see the big yellow, very confident, but then how confident are you using the digital workplace tools? It's still big, but nowhere near as comfortable as they are with the likes of your Facebook and all of those sort of things. So a little bit of concern there. And down in the bottom, have council communicated effectively, and do you believe that the tools have increased workplace efficiency? Good results, but then big areas where, you know, in particular the greys, neutral, where people really don't have an opinion. So we feel that there's a bit that we have to do. So our next steps, first of all, looking at those findings, we've put in a governance structure around the records and document management system because it was starting, even though we had implemented everything had gone okay, there was a danger that people would start to actually not adhere to the guidelines around records management. So we put in a governance structure. Training and workshops around the digital workplace technologies, and in particular revisiting those things, those technologies that were rolled out very quickly at the start. And finally, improved staff engagement around change initiatives. And I just wanted, here's something that we are going to use, and it was only, the URL for this is available publicly, and you'll see the address, and it'll be available in the slides. But the Irish Public Service on Friday, just last Friday, launched service design principles for the public sector in Ireland. And my colleague Jacqueline from Cork County is here, and some of her colleagues were involved in preparing this document. And it's publicly available, so it might be something that you'd be interested in. And back to Martin's point about service design, in everything we do, people need to be the first ones. So whether it's the public in terms of the services we provide, or our staff in terms of digital workplace, we need to be talking to them first. And then in terms of the staff, the digital dexterity or the digital literacy, and this was mentioned earlier on as well, there are new skills and competencies required for the digital world, and changing our approach to training and development is something that's very important, and ensuring that we're doing the right kind of training, and it's a new kind of training for this new workforce. On this, so that's digital workplace. On the digital services and systems, just to touch on them, we have an objective that, national objective in Ireland, that 90% of applicable services will be consumed online by 2030. And for us in Fingal, that will be about, and in local government in general, when I'm writing this new strategy for the sector, I intend it will be about end-to-end digital services, both the public-facing and the back office that supports it, and not just about having this nice shiny front end, but in the back office everything is still the same. There's also a number of other initiatives nationally. In particular, there's one, My Coco, which is about a shared initiative around local authorities to develop an online services for those services that don't have large volumes. So can you have one place where you can create lots and lots of services through this, where there's low volumes, and on their own any one of those services wouldn't warrant the investment. And then Build to Share. I see I'm running close to time, so Build to Share is about a governance structure around, if you have bottom-up approaches, or if you have innovation in particular local authorities, how can we effectively share that innovation amongst other local authorities so that they can take advantage of new developments. And here's another national project, and again the website is under here, where we've developed a service catalogue for the over 1,000 public services or local government services that are available in Ireland. so that at least when we're doing anything, we can refer back to this service catalogue. When we're publishing open data, we can refer back. Our website structures should refer back. These are all the services, standard naming convention. And again, you can look that up online afterwards. So and they're all categorized as well. And finally, just to touch a little bit on our digital places initiatives, we have our digital strategy, our public-facing one. We have a smart town initiative, Smart Balbriggan. There's our digital twin of Smart Balbriggan, and it was very much about an engagement process with the community, letting them see what was planned for the town. Obviously done our Wi-Fi for EU program and rolled out the Wi-Fi. And I was interested, I changed this last one earlier on because I was interested in the thing about the pharmaceutical drone delivery. And in Balbriggan, our smart town, we have a company that is doing takeaway delivery by drone. There's a population of 25,000. So far, they've reached 20% of that population in terms of customers. And that's a map of drone deliveries in one day in that town that are actually happening now in the town of Balbriggan. So I'll leave it there. Thank you very much.
So thank you. Is this working?
Is it on? Take the other one. Ah, there we go. Now it's working.
Thank you very much, Dominic. Just interested in, there's a lot of talk at the moment about digital skills, deficits, talent gap, and so on. And that last slide you had there with the drones pointing out to people living in remote places. To what extent is your approach to designing the workplace one of not about the place, but actually about the nature of the work, designing it in ways that are attractive to different diverse groups in the population, wherever they happen to be? And does that open up new opportunities in the way that systems are designed? And enable people, returners, for example, different people from different ethnic groups and so on, to participate in the job market.
Take this one, seeing as the other one doesn't seem to be working. So I suppose there are two elements in terms of digital skills. One is for our employees, our staff, and also our potential employees. And then the other one is obviously for the citizens that consume our services. But looking at our staff, we do have a problem in that the profile of our staff is older. And at the moment, there's a particular problem in attracting young people to work in local government. And I think in local government in Ireland, across the board, it's not seen as attractive to graduates, to school leavers. When we're recruiting people, instead of joining in their 20s now, they are joining our organisation in their 30s and their 40s. And the knowledge is with people that are in their 50s, in my age. And that's a real challenge when you're actually digitally transforming the workplace. But it's also an opportunity, because the people who we're trying to attract, they expect to come into a workplace where these digital tools are part and parcel. So we're actually using it as, I suppose, a sales tool almost, and actually to say, this is the type of organisation we are. So we've published, for example, a series of YouTube videos, basically with employees of the council saying why Fingal is a good place to work, and using, for example, those initiatives like the digital workplace. And we're very conscious of the fact that digital tools can enable us to reach out to other cohorts of people, to enable us to be more, and not just for the staff, but also for the public. So Fingal, as a local authority in Ireland, is probably the most ethnically diverse, has the widest range of languages in the country. So it's important for us in the way that we design our services that we are also looking out to the public and that changing demographic of the public. And when we're looking at that, we're also looking how do we support our communities in availing of digital skills. So it was mentioned earlier on about what's our responsibility in local government in actually enabling people to acquire digital skills. So for us in Fingal, our public library network plays a very important role in putting on digital skills courses for citizens free of charge, and that's in tandem with the whole free Wi-Fi and so on. So I hope that answered your question.
Thank you very much, Dominic.
Okay, yeah,
Steph.
I think we have to move on because we will now do, one or two questions. questions right after the presentation, as we don't have a Q&A session at the very end of this session. So I would like our next speaker to come up to the podium, or if you like, you can also, of course, use the whole stage. From Ireland, we move to Italy. Our next speaker is Grazia Concilio, and she will expand on the Easy Rights project that you heard before from Ina, that she introduced in the speeding round. Grazia is an engineer and associate professor in the Department of Architecture and Urban Studies at the Politecnico di Milano, and she carried out research activities in various countries like Germany, Austria, and Canada. I lived in all of them, so very interesting. You were in all of these countries. She's responsible for the Politecnico di Milano unit for the Horizon 2020 projects, Designscapes, Poliviso, and now the coordinator of Easy Rights. Let's hear more from her about the project.
So good morning, everybody. I will share this task with Anna Corognotti, who is from Larissa, so is much more comfortable than me in this audience. She is from the Institute for Entrepreneurship Development, and actually we have 3 partners from Larissa, including IED, in the project. So the Easy Right project is, I think you have heard already about it this morning from Inna Tonskaya. This is a project aimed at reducing, let's say, the obstacles that immigrants experience when using, accessing, interacting with public services throughout their integration experience. This is quite an adventure. We like to call it an experience because we are very nice. And this project was inspired by a very specific experience we had in another one, Open for Citizens, which was a project that we carried out to involve citizens in using open data for developing and co-design together with institutions public services using open data. At that time, we were working with a group of organizations in Milano to reduce the stress for immigrants by accessing rights, by accessing open data. At that time, we were working on the request for familiar reconjunctions of immigrants, which is not an experience. It's quite a tragedy. So what we learned there is that immigrants, first of all, they never feel legal in host countries. They feel illegal even when they are they have full rights to be in the host countries. They experience, and this is not a news, linguistic and cultural barriers. They face within this kind of, already uncomfortable conditions, also what we do as standard citizens experience, which is the bureaucratic complexity. And also they experience what we have learned throughout our government analysis, which is about the silhouette structure of our offices, our bureaucracy, our organizations of public institutions, which for them is starting from the beginning every time, even though they are experiencing and going through the same procedure. And this, in addition to all this, they also, for some of them, is even difficult to understand what category as for migrants they are. This is not easy for them to fully, capture and then to understand fully what are their rights. So this is why we started writing Easy Rights. The idea was to consider services, public services, those which are obviously also necessary for immigrants, but you will see that we have dealt with with the procedures and services which are there also for us, for let's say native citizens. The idea is that services are there as mediators, interfaces between migrants and their rights. And in this perspective, what we did was to, because we are almost at the end, in 1 month we will be closed, let's say. What we did was to, first of all, to reduce the obstacle they find in understanding what the procedures are about. So with the artificial intelligence agents, we were trying to read administrative documents to capture what we call the services pathways, to explain easy things about the procedures. We also developed, and throughout these pathways, immigrants are supported by linguistic training tools, which make them a bit aware of what are, the linguistic adventures throughout that specific procedure, those specific procedures. We have obviously also developed the policy guidelines in different directions, collaborating with other Migration 06 clusters project, but also we have worked on the issue of human rights literacy, which is quite a challenge, quite a very relevant absent there when dealing with service design, development, and implementation. And finally, we have developed, and we are still developing, and this will take place even after the project end, we are developing now as European standard for service quality in the direction of inclusivity. And so this is what our project is about, is to improve the access to services to allow migrants to better exercise their rights. What we did for working in the direction of making rights access easier for migrants is, first of all, to work, as I already said, on the accessibility of services, to improve this interface, to make this interface a bit better. And obviously, by doing this, to help migrants to exercise their rights. So what we did was developing, as Inna showed you this morning, this vocabulary training module. It's clear that when an immigrant is going through the interview with police for the request of asylum, there are terms which are specific of that service, and they are completely, they may be completely unfamiliar with it. They rely on linguistic mediator, but they are, like isolated. They must trust people, which is not always easy for them, and especially depending on the behaviors that they have, that they experience around their new life in the new country. So this is what we do. We make them a bit more familiar with the specific vocabularies of each of the service, and not only with the terms, specific terms, but also with the pronunciation, so that they can recognize at least the key words of the services, even though they don't capture the total meaning of the discussion. They feel they are in the right place, and this is already something. Also, as we are developing for each service the pathway, which is explaining them what they should do, where, how, and when, this is okay. This needs to be improved. Mainly, we need to improve the manner in which we develop administrative documents, I have to say, but all this is available in a Telegram bot that is accessible in all the languages, and gives, direction to them, whatever they need to go through. In addition to this, we have developed very specific and local solutions thanks to hackathons, which were run in a, let's say, migrants-friendly manner, because migrants were key protagonists of the hackathon. So we have a bit changed the standard manner to conduct hackathons, which was quite a success. We had already experienced this in the project Open for Citizens that I just quoted, that added to the specific solutions some additional elements for specific problems that the migrants are experiencing throughout 2 services in each of the 4 pilot cities of this project. These are the 4 pilots: Malaga in Spain, Larissa, as you can see, Palermo in Italy, and Birmingham in UK. What we understood is that it's crucial, the human rights, literacy, and also the role of immigrants in co-designing solutions. This is quite relevant as for the thematic that has been chosen for our session. It's also clear that we have no way to assess how these services are working in relation to the capacity of immigrants to have access to them. And also we have learned that we do not need always very advanced, Martian solutions. Maybe in some cases very frugal solutions are relevant. So by doing this, we have working on services, but we have been also working on very general solutions. So we have developed 2 white papers in collaboration with the other projects. These are very general on service provision and service design, and we are developing, as I said, a mediation grammar, which is a new European standard, in addition to the Easy Right policy brief. But on the mediation grammar, which is this new European standard that we would like you to join us in developing it. This is a co-design, actually, workshop. I leave the floor to Anna to tell you more about this.
Okay, so hello for me as well. Kalispera. So for the mediation grammar, the way we translated this grammar is basically a collection of minimum requirements for the enforcing of the informational rights for migrants, refugees, and asylum seekers. No, this is okay. So what we reflect in terms of the mediation grammar is 3 main challenges that we have identified through the Easy Rights project, and is in line with what Grazia just said. One is the language accessibility, the information adequacy, and the actualization of rights. So basically, when someone visits a service, how well, how in depth, and how extensive all these 3 challenges are met. So the mediation grammar tries to take this information in a way that can be measured and assessed. So as Grazia already mentioned, what we do is we try to make this mediation grammar an international standard. And for this, of course, we're working with CEN, the European Committee for Standardization. And as you can understand, it is a process that we follow along with them. We need to have certain steps fulfilled, and one of them is holding workshops, online workshops with experts and stakeholders working in policies for migration and other relevant fields, so they can actually give feedback on what we are trying to develop and, in a sense, co-create and co-design these with us. So at this stage, the draft for the standard is open for consultation, so any one of you can join and comment on the draft. And this is something actually that we really invite you to do. You can download it from the CEN website and also the Easy Rights website. And so you can actually go and comment and also participate in the workshop that we are holding in the end of November the 25th, and actually comment in real time with everyone else and of course the Easy Rights Consortium. So thank you very much, and you can find more in our stand. Thank you.
Yeah, we stay, oops, sorry. We stay in Italy and invite our next speaker to tell us more about the new ways of communication. Daniele Biagioni has been working for the Modena municipality for over 18 years and is now the Communication and Marketing Officer for the Communication and Participation Office in Modena. Let's find out from him how citizens meet the public administration in the new multi-mix channel and what they expect from a modern municipality.
Good afternoon, everybody. I come from Modena. First of all, Modena is a middle average city, is more or less 180,000 inhabitants in the northern part of Italy. Okay. First of all, I will speak about new ways to offer services and what is going on in my city. In fact, as in everybody, in everywhere else, we have noticed an acceleration in digital revolution during the pandemic period. As Mr. Ferguson said this morning, we know that this revolution, this better situation will endure. And we are very happy about this. And we know that from now, a lot of citizens can access to the services through digital way, and so also with through video call. But there are a lot of differences in this. We know that all the services that we can supply have got three components. The first one is what we call information. You can learn how you can do it. The second part we can call transaction. You can do it if you have the right information and if you have the skill to access. And the third part is consulting. That for us may be the most important one. In fact, it is the tailoring dimension, and is when you can get all the details concerning your problems, your specific problem, and everything you need to proceed to access to that service. When you plan a new service, for example, through video call, you can put together all these components, but with some adds, some more. You can, for example, give a language choice that is very important. We have seen in the last presentation that the language is a very important matter, that in a lot of situation is undervalued, but it's very, very important. And you can give all the details the citizen needs. In fact, the fact that the citizen can, a lot of citizens, seniors too, can now have the skills to access to new services doesn't mean that they can have all the details to choose the right access and to reach the right information. Furthermore, we know that there are a lot of possible developments in the next future concerning the video call services. For example, with an access through mechanisms of artificial intelligence, and we are thinking about it. While we are planning these kind of services, we have already started a project that for us is very important, that we call Modena Face-to-Face. What is it? It is something that is exactly in the middle between a traditional supply of services, so in a physical way with a physical person speaking to you as citizen, and a video call through a personal device or anyway from home. In fact, this new service aims to make the presence of the public administration of the municipality pervasive and efficient throughout the cities with the help of the tools of the digital technology. What is it exactly? We've got some experimental station, at the moment 4, installed in different districts of the city, through which you, a citizen, can access direct video contact with the operator of the public relation office as first, but not only those. To request information or to book a service or to make reports. This is the logo. This is the answer to a particular need. In fact, in the last years, we have closed around the city a lot of offices. Offices with direct access to, from the public. And this project aims to respond to a segment of population, to a part of the population, especially senior citizens, but not only, that still needs a physical contact with the administration. And this has to be close to them in their own districts. So we have installed this platform that are very user-friendly. They are touchscreen, you can see in these photos, with a simple double choice on the screen. You can choose the language, of course only in this moment Italian and English, but we are thinking to add Arab, because in our city there are a lot of people speaking Arab, immigrants, and the service. At this moment, you can choose only between two services that are the Public Relations Office and the Center for Family Services that, for example, it's very used from immigrants and foreign citizens. Okay, this project aims to reorganize, so in a digital way, the presence of the municipality on the territory. And it's having a very good success among citizens. We have 4 platforms for installation in this moment. Not all of them are in public buildings. I explained, not only in places owned by municipality. And so we have involved also different actors. We have one on the whole 4 in a public office. We have one other in a public lecture point. It is a small library, public library, and the other in leisure center that are private places. The importance of this is that we have chosen anyway places where there is someone that can give sometimes needed explanation to access to the platform. Even if you have noticed, it is very, very easy to access to it. This project is inside a very important pact that in Modena there is between citizens and public administration. For example, we've got a very, very important issue of active citizenships. And also in this issue, in this team, we are working to create a sort of app, so once again a digital tool to put together, to put in contact the maintenance needs, active citizenships, you know, it is very important to maintain city, green areas, and so on, together with the availability of citizens, so that the participation can be more effective and immediate, and of course to make, in order to make the city a better place. Of course, I have to conclude saying that in a lot of cases, apart from the services I just explained, we have the possibility to access to various services through chat, already widespread. A lot of services can be booked through chat. Also, if they are offered in video call, you can before chat to book your moment to contact with the operators. In the last part of my presentation, I want to speak about new ways to use data. That is the other important issue we are working on in my city. In fact, a lot of us thought some years ago that social networks would overtake the one-to-one tools, such as newsletter or other kind of one-to-one tools. But we have understood, everybody have understood, I think, that if you can't manage important budgets, social networks are not relevant at all. You can't use them to touch really the citizens, to offer real information to citizens. But on the other hand, a lot of one-to-one tools such as mailings, apps, and other kind of messaging, I think about Telegram, for example, are very, very important and give great results. So, what we have to do to make these kind of tools very effective? We have to have a trigger that, starting from our database that we own, that we as administration, public administration owns, with citizen data and automatically send communication. What does it mean? That when we have to give some messages, not only institutional, of course, but a lot of information of interest, we can send them in advance, putting together these two kind of information. Some example. We can send a nursery registration information to parents of 3 months old baby in order they can already know before they need what the public administration can offer them before, and only with an automatic trigger that can send the information. Or for example, the use of traffic limited zone can be explained to people just on the moment they change their residence, so that they can enter to the city center knowing what it is important to do. Just 2 examples to say that this is for us the future. This integrated management of information and citizen data through automatic mechanism. Also, because in our country we are speaking about a future digital home where all the data of the citizens can be put together and connected to what administration can offer as service. Thank you.
Do you have, for these 2 Italian projects, a question?
Well, starting with the last presentation first, just thinking about the skills and the mindset of staff. So if you're changing the way in which you communicate with citizens, how is that affecting the staff? How are they changing the way that they operate? And by the way, I was very interested that you included that example of making a service invisible with expectant mothers, taking away the need for a transactional service altogether.
Yeah. We have got a number of people from the staff that are prepared. We are teaching them how to connect to the different in order to give immediate the information. Of course, maybe that during the conversation, for example, in a face-to-face connection, as you have seen in the service, not all the information can be given in that moment, but the person that collects the needs can immediately say to the citizen where he or she can find the right information. This is what for us is important, not to give immediate answer, but to know where you can find them.
Thank you, and Gracia and Anna, just going back to your presentation, and you had that kind of circle, didn't you, with accessing services, the experience, but it seemed to me there was another step there potentially, which is actually being the advocate on behalf of those migrants for changing the very nature of the services themselves. So there must be instances where you've come up against services which you think, if only I could redesign that, it would be so much better. And so are you finding yourself now moving into that advocacy space and working with government agencies to improve the design of their underlying services?
Okay, so you are right. And actually, this morning we were watching a presentation that is saying that there is a sort of resistance by institutions to change, which is actually not the problem in my view. So there are rules there as per the bureaucratic infrastructure which are making institutions resistant. So it's not, in my view, it's not specific on people the problem. We have also problems with people, but there is a sort of, embedded resistance which is related to the bureaucracy and to the bureaucratic infrastructure. What we have learned is that we can give support to make the current, let's say, procedures a bit more friendly to those citizens, but believe me, it would not be only for them, it would be for any citizen to have a clear understanding, for example, of very complex procedures. We were also facing, and we have discussed a lot this, to what extent our solutions were becoming an additional obstacle for them to those that they already have to deal with. And that's why we were also, working a lot on languages and the standard we are developing. It's not suggesting solutions. It's working on the experience side. So we are working on the quality of the experience of the users. So no matter if you translate everything in every language of the world, or if you make available for them a personalized linguistic mediator. So to us is not relevant how the service applies make the experience possible, but if the experience is not stressing to some extent in understanding what to do, in getting the right information, the complete information, not being blocked because if you are not able to complete some procedure, you may be completely stuck in other procedures which prevent you from accessing other rights. So this is quite a complex issue, but this is also why we are working for the standard on the user side, not on the manner in which services are provided. So in some sense, we are trying to say you may change the service if you want. It's a very hard to change, but we have quite a relevant amount of cities working with us on this. I am usually a bit too optimistic because I am Southern Italian, but I really hope that okay, this could be a relevant step towards, even new manners to design services and procedures, especially. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, and we're moving moving on. We've saw something from Ireland. We have seen 2 projects from Italy. And now we're moving on to Belgium. Our last speaker for the session is Lieven Rees. Lieven is an internationally recognized smart city expert and an advisor at Digital Flanders with responsibility for research and development related to transformational change in government. Lieven focuses on the use of digital twins, specifically in urban environments, and how they fit into the current smart city and geospatial landscape. Drawing upon the experiences of the Digital Urban European Twins project, the Duet, we will also have a parallel workshop on Thursday, so if you have a chance, maybe you have a look. Lieven explains the uniqueness of local digital twins compared to other existing decision-making solutions and explores their potential for redefining the way cities are managed on both a day-to-day and a long-term basis. So please welcome Lieven Rees.
And apologies, we seem to have a problem with the slides at the moment, so talk amongst yourselves for a minute or two.
It was just working fine. Anyway, Lieven.
So, good afternoon, everyone. Something went wrong with my PowerPoint presentation, and since it's, let's say, 2/3 of them are just pictures, I hope that they will be able to arrange it soon. So, but in the meanwhile, at least I can tell you something about the project itself. So it's a little bit improvising also from my side, but no problem. So a few words about Duet. Duet stands for Digital Urban European Twins, and it's of course a European research project supported by the European Commission. Project will end of this month, so we're in fact almost at the end, and I'm happy to present the final results to all of you. The project also won last year during the World Smart City Conference in Barcelona the Enabling Technologies Award. And as a consortium, of course, we're very proud on this. Project itself, consortium exists of 15 partners from 6 member states. So maybe just tell you something about digital twins, and maybe first a question, who is familiar here in the room with the term of digital twins or digital urban twins, digital local twins? I see some hands there, yeah, which is fine. So in fact, let's say 20 years ago, when I was a young public servant at the Flemish administration, my boss asked me to write the bicycle plan for Flanders with the famous title, Total Bicycle Plan for Flanders. And in fact, and I hope that I will be able to show you the pictures in a few seconds, we were creating very nice maps on glossy paper about cycling networks. The cycling networks, about the traffic accidents that happens on the roads with cyclists more specifically. And in fact, we were able to bring together a number of data sets, but at the end, in the document, we were linked to the information we had. We were not able to make any simulation or whatever. So there were, let's say, quite a few limitations with the plan itself. So with, let's say, more advanced possibilities, probably the outcomes would have been better and different. So maybe what's a digital twin or a digital urban twin, or the European Commission also calls it a digital local twin these days. It's of course, it's a twin, it's a simulation, a digital simulation of, let's say, the behavior of a city. A behavior is always limited, a technological system is always limited, and in fact, a digital twin for us is more a learning system, a digital copy of the real world where you mimics its behavior, display its assets, systems, and processes. And now I will try to click and see if it works. Yeah. So this is the bicycle plan with the glossy paper, digitalized here, but in a very, let's say, non-complicated way. And maybe a few words about the history of digital twins. So in fact, digital twins started in the making industry. And in fact, it already started in the 60s as so many projects during the Apollo program. Remember, and you all know the movie Apollo 13, the capsule was in space, there were a lot of difficulties, and on the ground in the US, they were experiencing with a complete copy of the lunar module to simulate the measures that they tried out, let's say, in the sky so far away from Earth. So this was in fact a first version of the digital twin. In the 80s, 90s, the make industry used as part of their CAD systems. In fact, they tested their drawings and like things like engines, etc., like airplanes, how should they behave in the real world before testing them and before literally falling off the sky. Then I think it was beginning of 2000, the people working with GIS system, geoinformation spatial systems, started working with 3D, and Singapore was one of the first. We were able to make a complete digital copy of Singapore, and this is one of the pictures. And this is also at the time we noticed this fancy 3D building information models as digital twins. But let's say this is part of the story. The 3D models, really fancy, but what can we do with it? How can we use it? And in Duet, we haven't concentrated on the fancy 3D models, but we have concentrated on how can those digital twins support policy making and especially the decision process. And not only, let's say, in one domain like mobility or environment or land use planning, but in a combination of those, let's say, what we call sometimes silos in our governments. So what we actually did was applying existing simulation models, like you have a traffic model or an air quality model or a noise model, and combining them together. And this is the core of the Duet project, to be able to simulate some decisions. It's also called sometimes evidence-based decision-making. I call it also evidence-informed decision-making, because a complete evidence is not possible, because a city is also a living system that you can't simulate completely in an electronic way, and that's important. Our digital twin in Duet, it's a prototype, and it's in fact combining 2D, 3D maps, because for running some models you need a 3D model of your city, but you don't need a 3D model to start your digital twin journey. And this is something really important to say, also for, let's say, smaller cities, smaller regions. You don't need a huge investment to start your digital twin journey. And I think this is also some of the lessons learned in the Duet project. We are combining also terrain data, IoT data, some predictive models, but it's not necessary, by the way. And we made some visualizations. And visualizations are not only the 2D and 3D maps, but can also be a dashboard to simulate effects of decisions. In fact, it's key to understand the future impact, to understand the impact of a system. And in that respect, it's not only a digital twin, a tool, a desk tool for cities, for civil servants, for planning organizations, etc. It's also an important communication tool towards the public, so that they can also see the effects of decisions, of proposed decisions, but also can elaborate, can discuss, probably can even vote. That's also foreseen in our digital twin prototype, on what they think is the best solution for a certain problem. So a digital twin brings, in fact, entrepreneurial thinking together with agile processes, with open innovation, government, and decision making. And in that way, it's also a system of systems. You don't have to start from a white piece of paper. A digital twin, as we have experienced in our 3 pilots in Duet, we started from connecting existing legacy systems, including data, including APIs, services, live data, etc. Very important is to make the data understandable for the different city departments, for the policymakers, for the politicians, but also for everyone, in fact, who is affected what's going on in your city. We also want to explore the policy impact. We, of course, want to influence better public decisions, and we also want to experiment and innovate. So co-creation is part of the process, co-creation with different departments in the city, but also with citizens, with organizations, and so on. Was a little bit difficult because of the COVID situation, but we try to do that to a certain extent in the project. Also, let's say, to have that link with what is going on in the city. And now I will tell you more about the 3 pilots we have. The first one is the city of Pilsen in Czech Republic, smaller city, 160,000 inhabitants. Then the metropolitan area of Athens, and the region of Flanders in Belgium, which is also a specific situation because there you have a number of cities closely connected to each other. So we have, in fact, 3 completely different geospatial, geographical situations in our pilots. But nevertheless, we were able to use the same open technology and framework that I will not explain because it's too technical and I'm also running out of time a little bit. But it's an open system that allows you to combine data, to combine simulation models and visualization tools, and that's in fact the most important thing you have to remember. So we're now moving to Athens, and what we did in Athens is we've closed the road close to the city center. We've used there a traffic model of the city of Athens we have implemented. And now you see the situation after the road has closed. So you see the decrease and increase in traffic. And when you use that model, you can combine different models. So you can apply new models on top of it. And for example, this is an air quality model measuring NO2, which is very much related with traffic. And you see here the immediately effect of that particular road closure on the increase and decrease of air pollution. You see it here from a different angle in a 3D model as well. I take you now to the city of Pilsen, where we have implemented more or less a similar traffic model based on a lot of sensors in the city. We've closed down the bridge, and before closing down, we make this calculation. And the city of Pilsen effectively closed this bridge, and we noticed that our traffic model was 95% accurate. And based on that model, we launched a noise model with, let's say here, a lot of noise sensors. There are no real sensors. They are just calculated points in the city. And here you see also before and after the effects of the air quality, or sorry, of the noise model. Yeah, something is going wrong here. Yeah, okay, you see some slight differences there. I take you now to my hometown, which is the city of Ghent in Flanders. And what you see here is also a road closure. And you see here another model we have implemented. We have implemented, in fact, 10 models at the same time, or in the same product. And here you see the noise impact of that closure. Before and after, so this is after the bridge is closed, this is before. And you also see here with another model we have used from the Flemish Institute of Technology, the NO2 increase and decrease in the city. Very important here for this kind of models, by the way, is that we are using a 3D model because this kind of air quality and noise models take into account the width of the roads, the height of the buildings, how close the buildings are together, the surface, etc. So that's all the number of trees. It's all taken into the equation to become, let's say, to calculate the right amount of NO2 difference. This is in fact more or less the same, but in a 2D model, and you see immediately that a 2D view has also advantages to give a better overview of, let's say, the wider impact of the same measures. And you see here, for example, the effect on fine dust particles. So this is here another road closure, and by the way, we're not only able to close a road, we're also able to implement speed limitations, to close down only one direction of the road, so we can simulate also multiple closures at the same time, so that you really can calculate the effects. Maybe just a few conclusions, and I have more or less 2 minutes left. What is important on digital twins? I think, first of all, that it's breaking down the policy silos. And in the city, we noticed in the 3 pilots that city departments start working together, starting discussing about data quality, about the impact of certain measures. So this is important. Another point which is really important from my side is always stress the city is not a computer. This is a nice simulation, but it's a simulation, so you have to take other elements into account as well, that you can never simulate how smart your model may be. Another element we've noticed is the fact that by combining different models with each other, also the amount of, let's say, deviations from the real situation increases as well. That's because, of course, you're building simulation on top of another simulation. That's also something important to take into account. There are some important things to do also because from a technical perspective, we've combined those 10 models with each other, but there are no standards to do that in as the words say, in a standardized way. So there we also have to work on technical solutions to make it easier, more cost effective to implement digital twins as we have done in the Duet project in the future. Here you have an overview of the 15 partners. And we also have a number of very nice products to explore. We have, on the left-hand side, more than 20 real-life cases implemented, by the way, not only from the Duet project, but from other projects as well, like Compare and Urbanage. You can test the 3D viewer yourself. And of course, tomorrow, 12:20, we would like to welcome you to our session where you can play with us, with the digital twin, how it works in practice and how you can implement it, hopefully one day in your city or region. Thank you.
Now, Martin, you have one sort of conclusion and also maybe a question for Liebe before we close the session.
Well, a fascinating set of presentations, and Loon, thank you for that. Ending up on a somewhat technical point, which makes me ask the question, what's the governance arrangements around these digital twins? How do you ensure that they are being deployed ethically and in ways that actually involve the different interests and stakeholders in the different contexts in which they're being applied?
Thank you. The ethical question is really important, and we have in our project raised a number of ethical questions. First of all, I think by communicating digital twins to the public, to the local community groups, companies, etc., I think that's important because a digital twin, as in so many ICT projects, let's say the organizations with a lot of means, power, money, will be able to study what you're doing more and in more detail than some other maybe less developed groups or organizations. So that's one element. And I think by taking digital twins away from the offices and bring it to the people is important. But we also explain every case in our digital twin in detail, what you can learn from it, what you can't learn from it, because that's also an important question. That's one point. I think to certain technologies, and I'm especially meaning here artificial intelligence, there it's also very important if you're using artificial intelligence. By the way, we don't do this in duets at this moment. As a government, you always have to be able to explain on what data is your calculation and your prediction made. And if you're using AI, you must be able to explain how this AI system has worked. And I haven't found a solution to explain that myself, but I'm not a specialist, I have to say. But it's one of the, for example, main questions. So yes, there are a lot of ethical questions linked to tools like digital twins we have to sort out in the next years, and especially when technology will further evolve.
Thank you.
Okay, anything you want to add as a conclusion, maybe from having heard all these presentations, Martin?
Well, I think for me it comes back to my starting point, which was, as a citizen, how would you describe these kinds of initiatives, and what language would you use? And getting away from this word digital all the time, to actually thinking about better outcomes for people in the places in which they live, work, and play, and so on. So, how do we design with that in mind?
Thank you so much. Thank you all to the speakers for sharing their insights. And we are moving right along to the next session.